Hello, good afternoon. It's always a pleasure to be part of these types of events where everyone is willing to share and we all learn from each other. Just to make a correction, I'm Carlos Vela. We share the same name as the former LAFC player. We don't share the same bank account, unfortunately. However, he's Mexican too. We have known each other for a long, long time. We both share our passion for the game. His brother is a close friend of mine, Alejandro, so it's fine. Yeah, so it's fine. I was also a professional soccer player. Well, I'm gonna speak. It's always difficult to start, but we're gonna talk about how a sporting director uses data on a daily basis. It's very interesting how we can use it, and I hope you find that interesting. I will try to make it very agile, very fluent, and hopefully you will like it. This is something about myself. I was a professional soccer player. I managed to play in teams in Mexico such as Rayados de Monterrey or Querétaro and many others. But what really shaped the way I see sporting directors work is truly about my academic degree as an engineer. I see sporting directors' role as a manager of processes. I believe in science, I believe in processes and A plus B, and I have managed to take all that knowledge to the field. After I retired very young at the age of 27. I was invited by Rayados to work in the academy. And after 3 years, it was 2014, I saw a big area of opportunity in the club. Rayados de Monterrey is a very big team in Mexico. However, at that time, they didn't use data at all in any of their decisions. So I was working in the academy, and I presented a project to the board with the use of data to make scouting, recruitment. At that time, speaking about data was weird. Today, we have a lot of good suppliers, a lot of providers, a lot of podcasts, a lot of information all around us. But at that point, it was very weird. Fortunately, the board was very open to that proposal and invited me to inaugurate the analytics and scouting department. It was a huge success. We brought Funes Mori, who was the all-time leading scorer of the history of the team, 3 or 4 more signings that were big success, all based in the same methodology based on data. After 3 years, I earned the confidence of the ownership, and they invited me to be the sporting director of the team. I was the youngest one in the country. Then, after a 12 years trajectory in the team, I was invited to Mazatlan to be the sporting director in Mazatlan. All my colleagues told me if I got crazy because I resigned my position in Monterrey to go to Mazatlan, which was from the big team to the low team. But the idea of being part of a new franchise, it was the youngest franchise in the country, seduced me. The idea of building a club from their groundings. So I took a step forward and resigned my position in Monterrey to go to Mazatlan. Unfortunately, the owner had some troubles. Now the franchise has been sold, and for next semester it won't exist. So I had to make a step to another place. And now I am very happy since last year is my first experience abroad out of Mexico in Alajuelense. Last semester was a huge success. We won Central American Cup from CONCACAF, and we won the national title, which was a long time since Alajuelense had won the title. So it was a very happy December. So that is something about myself. And now I'm going to speak about all the presentation. Why data is important for sporting directors. I'm sure everyone will agree when we say that talent in our players is the most important thing in the field. However, that is not that is not no longer enough. We have been hearing a lot of times he's very good, but no, he's a wonderful player, but so we have to avoid the bots and get the best performance of each of our players. The demands of the game are also much more higher than before. Now we have to optimize our players' performance, avoid injuries. We have much more games than before. And also the difference between each team is smaller. We have heard a lot of times that distances are coming closer. That's true. The margin between winning and losing is minimum. So we have to get advantage of every single spot. You will find a lot of suppliers, a lot of providers. All of them are good. You have to ask the good questions, the better questions to see why you are hiring this provider, why you choose another one. The most important thing is that you understand why you are using each of them. In this case, all of these work with us in Alajuelense. Some of them, they had it before, some of them, once I arrived last year. However, having the providers is not enough. I'm sorry. It's very important that the bottom part, in-house data. It is good to have providers, but we also create in each of our clubs a lot of information that most of the times we don't use it. What do we train? What is the main part of the session? Why we are training that drill? That is a lot of information that much of the time we don't study, we don't collect it, and we don't do anything about it. So it's very important that each club has this analysis department because there is a lot of data. There is a lot of data, and you will hear it every time. We have to filter. We have to use. We cannot give the coaching staff. We cannot give the players. We cannot give the board all the whole information just like that. We have to give it very digested in order to make the better decision. So not because you have all these providers, you will have a better decision. So I'm gonna get some water. Sorry. There are 5 pillars in which I believe that data is used in a daily basis in the sporting director area. In the opponent analysis, our own team analysis, which we have to be very self-criticism. That must exist in every team. In the athletic performance of our players, scouting and recruitment, and in youth development. We can use data on all of those five pillars. I will give you some real-life examples. Opponent analysis. There is a lot of information about it. Coaching staff and analysts and video analysis are the main customers of this information. Using these different tools, you can identify patterns, how they build up their plays, how they press, if they make high press, if they don't, which are their deficiencies, where they are good, what do they do in set plays, etc., etc., etc. So there is a lot of information. What the most important thing, at least in my opinion, is that the information is simple and easy to understand for each player. I always ask our analysis department to send a report to our players, put data, but also put a small explanation of that data. So what my advice is always, don't tell the coach they have 3.2 expected goal on set pieces. No, tell him they are good in set pieces. Yes, because in order for them to be open to receive the information, you don't tell the coach 76% of their crosses are on the first bar. No, they mainly make the cross to the first part of the area, and it goes the same way with players. You don't tell he makes 3.6 dribbles per game. No, he's good on a one-on-one. Be careful because he goes to the left. So that brief explanation that goes in the report to the players, I always ask our analysis department to send them. WhatsApp, easy to handle. What happens? Normally, at first, they never answer. The players never answer. They just put a finger or no answer. However, once if we keep sending the information, they start to talk about it. Even better, some ask for more information or some ask for their own information. So it has to be in an organic way to grow. And that is how we work. Then own team analysis. As I said, self-examination is very important. Data helps us to see game model evaluation, to get some performance feedback. I like to make cuts every 6 to 8 games to see how well we're doing or bad we're doing against our rivals. Every single post-match analysis with some data. And it also helps to see when you use players in different positions, which one fits better, how the team develops with certain roster or lineup, and also to see undervalued players or the other way around. Players that make 1 or 2 highlights during the game, but they are not that efficient. This is an example of how I measure our game model evaluation. The game model is something aspirational. Is when you are a sporting director, the game will start, what you hope you will see from your team every single game. So, Alajuelense, we want to be a fast, intense, and strong team that prioritizes possession and game control. We want to be dominant, that constantly creates scoring opportunities, recovers the ball rapidly. If we can't, we have good defensive organization, and we are very efficient in set pieces and respect the rules of the game. That is what I expect to see from Alajuelense every single game. Every team has its own game model. It's not the same, the one from Manchester City, than Real Madrid or Alajuelense. It goes mainly by history and budget. So, but each pillar has its own KPIs. These are some examples. If I say that we are constantly creating scoring opportunities, well, how is our expected goal? If I say we are going to be fast, intense, and strong team, show me the GPS data. And that is something we can evaluate how close or how far we're from what we want to be. This is some data from September last semester. We were in first place. However, we were struggling with scoring. We only had 9 goals in 8 games, but we were managing to win 1-0 every game. We had a very good defense. So speaking with the coach, our expected goal was 10.15, so we had the goals we deserved. And we had a good defense. We were strong in defense. Our coach is a big legend in Costa Rica. He was the national team coach in Russia, in the World Cup in Russia, multiple trophy in national titles. And he has a reputation of being very conservative in his game, in his play style. And he always told me, we are building from back to the front, from back to the front. So once we had this conversation, it was the middle of the tournament. And since I say I always do cuts every 6 to 8 games, we spoke, and I always ask my coaching staff from the academy to the first team to collect the sessions, the training sessions. So why we are training this? What do you expect to gain for this drill? For this next drill, what is the objective of this exercise? We don't do just by doing. So I collect this information, and afterwards, once we have that chat, 68% of our sessions were offensive objective sessions. So, and the pie below is more detailed what we were working in the offensive phase of the game. In the last 10 games, we scored 20 goals. So, and we ended the first place and much, since we had 9 goals in the first 8 games, we ended with 29 goals in 18. It was a huge improvement in the offensive phase, mainly because the team started to train that phase of the game. He was building from back to the front, and it happened to be true. So that is an example of how measuring the game model, and you can translate it to the training sessions. Athletic performance. With the amount of games we're playing, it's very important to use data. Not only GPS data, which is very important, but also strength and and other types of involving the fitness of our players, nutrition, etc. With two main goals: optimize their player performance and reduce injuries, because we don't want to have injured players. It's a lot of money wasted. So how do we work? We make a big set of testings. Every 30 to 40 days, we make all these testings to the players. Each has their own goal, their own purpose. What we want to create are human machines, because this test tells us if he's stronger in his right hamstring than in his left, if there is not a correct symmetry between his quadricep or his hamstring, or if his calf, left calf is stronger than his right. We want to make a human machine that is perfect in order to perform well and avoid injuries. So we have all this data. In Alajuelense, it was awful. It was the poorest information I have seen in a professional soccer team in my life. But it was a big area of opportunity to make a short-term improvement. So the main purpose of this semester, last semester, was to get athletes out of those people. So we started a program. We made individual interviews with each player, explained them the results and their main purpose for this semester. What I can tell you is that players are very loyal. Once you speak them with frontal, with the truth, and with a purpose, they will respond. So there is an example with Kenyon Mitchell, who has just been sold to MLS. He will be playing in Minnesota. Wonderful player and great person. So each player had their own routine, their own purpose, their own goal. By October, our results were not bad at all. In the amounts of strengths, we were above Liga MX average. So we were in a position in which we will compete well. And individually, those marked in red are the ones that still had something to be worked before the determinant part of the semester came, which was November, December, where all the knockouts and the final stage will be doing. So things were working and were better. Alajuelense was one of the teams in the continent with more games. We were playing every 4.7 days. We ended the semester with 33 games in one semester from July to December. And Alexis Gamboa was the 6th Latin American player with more minutes in the pitch in the year. This needs a holistic analysis. It's not for free that you get this amount of games with good results or this amount of minutes in a good performance level. There is a lot of work behind. So besides that, the strength area, we use data individually after each single day after training session. So this is the GPS information. We have the general information of the session, how much sprints they did, how much meters they run, acceleration, deceleration. However, the main area is that it is individually. We have to analyze it because it's not the same demand from the center back than the left back than the forward. And each demand, even between forwards, it goes to each particular player, how he develops in the pitch. So we have a software that automatically, after each session, gives us some percentage that the experts analyze, the fitness coach analyze. And what I force is a daily meeting after each session, where the physio participates, the doctor participates, a coaching staff member participates, the psychologist, and all the multidisciplinary areas among the players goes to each meeting and individually highlight the 4 or 5 or 3 cases that we need to put more attention. Data must change behavior. If we are seeing data, we see that we're getting too much sprints, next day we can lower it. Because coaches, sometimes in the day, they go on with training and it's fine. All around the coach must adapt for the next day. So this data must change what we will work afterwards. Scouting and recruitment. When we are in a structure with not too many scouts, because we don't need them, because, for instance, in Costa Rica, we only have 5 foreign player spots. And if we have 3 with medium long-term contracts, we are only looking for 1 or 2 players. We don't need a too robust scouting department. However, data allow us to get to all the countries, to all the leagues we need with a first filter based on data. We can be very specific in the type of player we need and identify undervalued players. However, and that is the way I think, I might be wrong, data does not replace scouting. For me, they work together. Data is a first filter, but we still need to see the player. So it's data to identify, video to understand. There is a lot of platforms, Wisecast, where you can see a lot of games from any player from any country. And that live scouting to confirm. Live scouting is not that you will see something different from the video. You will probably see the same performance. However, live scouting helps you to understand the environment among the player. What does the crowd think of the player? What does the village people think of the player? And then the interview shows you a lot of things also. So every step of the way is important because a lot of money is invested in recruitment. So you must be sure of what you are doing. In this case, this is our first filter. According to our game model, we design that platform per position, and we give that percentage to each of the positions. We want a left back that goes. It's important for us, the offensive type of play, etc. So we give some percentage to each variable, not too many, maximum 12, because it's the most important thing we are valuing in a first filter position. We get these rankings from Mexican League, Ecuador League, Colombian League, Peru, Paraguay, and all our leagues of interest. We get this perfect 11, let's say, as one way. But then comes the scouting process. But since we don't have too many resources, human resources to watch players, we have to be very efficient of whom we are seeing. So we must see these players, not all the players in the world. Then the scouts give the report. I still believe in giving some number in the technical area, tactical area, physical area, psychology area. Put that description and then put a number, because then we have an average, and in a long-term basis, it also serves as a data collection. And in youth development, this is very important because young players are much more open than 15 years ago. Now it's easier to talk about data with them, but it's important that the coaching staff also feel, I say, data-friendly culture, that they get used to use this type of information. You have also in academy a good area of opportunity considering relative age effect. You have to do testings because normally the guys that are born in January, February, and March get more opportunities than the one that get born in the last part of the year. If you make testings, you might see that the guy from December is faster than the one in February when he was the December age. I don't know if I explained myself, but that is important because you get that collection and you can bet on the one that has the better conditions for the future. Monitorized training according to development phase. That means what I told you, the coach must say what he's working and why. And then you can see this is not the correct type of work for a 14-year-old, for a 17-year-old. At 19, you must put more effort in this part. And that is a way you can control or monitorize a methodology, evaluate performance, and long-term performance tracking. This is an example. After a game, the coach must evaluate from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, it's the same, to the performance of the player. But not only that, he has to tell me 2 or 3 things that were good and 2 or 3 things that were bad from that player on each game. And after a long-term basis, you can see the example, for instance, Angel Leiva, which is a very good Mexican central back. He has good evaluation and he's very good in a one-on-one basis, in defensive one-on-one. However, the coach says that he must improve on identifying passing lines when starting the game. So, or a back, which is a left back, is very good going forward and crosses, but he has to identify better his mark when the ball is in the other part of the... So this gives you an individual pathway for a player. So if we think that Leiva is very good, he's a wonderful player, everyone says he's very good, very aggressive in defense, and he has to improve that, well, the individual development program must improve this, that the own coaches are telling. So that is also good for individual development. What are the challenges when using all this information? As I said, too much data and too little insight. We have to digest and give the correct spoon to the user, to the client. Gap between analysis and decisions. Don't overanalyze. Believe in the process. Once the process that you design and that you have proven to be right, don't hesitate and take the decision based on the information that you have. Cultural resistance, which is normal, especially with all hierarchy. Be patient. Everything will come. You have to build a culture in the team. Especially, well, if you're the sporting director, it's easier. But if you're in the analytics department, you have to convince around the environment around. And lack of football context, make it about the game. As I explained, don't give too much decimals to the advice. Try to make it about a brief explanation about the game in order to be easier to receive for the client. Finally, this is a legend I like to use, and it's in my office. Everyone that goes there can read it, and reflects the way I see soccer management. What is not defined cannot be measured. What is not measured cannot be improved. What is not improved is always degrading. There is not a recipe for success in soccer. No one will tell you, if you do this, you will be champion, or if you do that, you will lose. There is no recipe or an exact way to win. However, it is important that whatever path you choose, you believe in it. If you are passionate enough, you will transmit the information and everyone will believe. So I have been part of very successful teams. I have been fortunate enough to win a bunch of trophies in working in this way with different coaches. And I think that I have been capable of transmitting that this is in the information or the pathway I believe, and it has been well received. So it was fast, but...
Start.